Value their existence. How dare you say something like that? Like, seriously, value their existence? Yeah, you should sit down. I mean, seriously.
So let's talk about it.
Privilege. What a bunch of nonsense. If you want to be, seriously, I mean, privilege. Everyone has some element of privilege. Some people are smarter.
I have privilege.
Let me finish, okay? I let you do your piece. What are you trying to say with all this race stuff?
Well, I want to get back to the answer about school choice.
I'm genuinely curious.
So I
haven't mentioned race once, but you keep on mentioning it.
Turning point is dangerous, right?
To socialism, absolutely, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. In this video, we're going to watch our boy, Charlie Kirk, completely destroy a member of the Young Turks, a slimy Marxist socialist. Let's get into it.
I don't think Charlie's teachers liked him very much. Do you guys?
The feeling was mutual.
Yeah. So this is interesting, right? This is something that I want to explore further, right? So this is, again, an example of how Charlie and I are so impossibly different and have had such different reactions to almost every single thing that's happened since 2008. Right? So to get to your question, no, the Department of Education shouldn't be abolished. That's a ridiculous talking point. Should it be streamlined? Can things be more efficient? Always. But so I want to take us back to 2010, when Governor Scott Walker was first elected, right? And you were writing op-eds in your high school paper, right, about how great he was for busting up teachers' unions, right? Your teachers were going to Madison, Wisconsin, right, where I'm from, right? They were busting themselves up to show solidarity with their other teachers, right? And Charlie didn't have the human capacity to wonder why, right? Why did they need to stand in solidarity with folks in where it gets hot here, it gets real cold in Wisconsin, I'll tell you that right now. They were out there in the freezing cold, just asking for very simple things, right? Very, very simple things. Can we collectively bargain for our pay? Can we collectively bargain for our health care? Can we go and sit down as equals with the folks that employ us, just to have a conversation about what it's like and what we need to get by, because teachers are serving the public. Right? It's a public service job where they get up every day. It is thankless. I don't care when folks say they don't work in the summer. I know that they do. It is a ridiculous talking point to say otherwise. We know that we have to value these folks, right? So the Department of Education does something very interesting, right? And I want to hear what your solution for this would be, because I don't know what it would be. So the Department of Education is responsible for making sure that vulnerable children in school districts are protected. Kids with disabilities. Right? They make sure that kids who are LGBTQ are valued. They make sure that transgender people, who Charlie does not even acknowledge their existence,
Wrong.
Okay.
Value their existence. How dare you say something like that? Like, seriously, value their existence? Yeah, you should sit down. I mean, seriously.
So let's talk about it.
Value their existence.
Wait.
Seriously.
Wait.
Value their existence.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay. Do you acknowledge there's more than one gender?
There's two genders. Yes, there's more than one gender.
Do you acknowledge that Would you acknowledge that transgender kids need special protections in school?
Absolutely, yes. That could be done on a local basis. It doesn't take a federal bureaucracy to look after LGBT students.
There's two issues that I have right now. And I know that it's still about the Department of Education because they are the ones that enforce this regulation. So what I think is interesting, right, is that if you turn this over to local control, right, so then the kid in Scottsdale might be protected and the kid in South Phoenix might not. Right? We know that this creates a patchwork of protections where we can't even define what it means to be American, because one American, 10 miles apart, right? And I'm shocked that you're offended, because you would hit us all for being offended and triggered.
Actually, I'm not offended. I'm laughing.
Okay. But so what I think you're missing, right, is that when you say that, and again, I misspoke, right? But when you say that transgender folks can't identify that way, right? Or that there's not more than one gender, right? You're not valuing their existence.
No, actually,
right?
I am. I'm saying there's two genders, and this idea that there's 47 genders and counting is wrong. It's non-biological, it's anti-science, and it's harmful
of all people to be
society.
anti-science.
Yeah. It is anti-science. Just because Brown University says there's 47 genders and pick one doesn't mean it necessarily is true. They used to call this gender dysphoria, okay? There's two genders. Now, can someone who might be born as a man choose to be a woman? Yes. There's two genders. Pick one. I value their existence. How dare you say something like that?
Bruh, my man said one gender. Yeah, I know he misspoke, but at the same time, that was a funny one. These leftists, it's the same like the point on abortion. They like to talk about the extremes. When we talk about abortion, they talk about rape, or if a member of the family would have done a bad thing to a young girl and she gets pregnant. Yes, obviously those things are completely extreme and not okay. This is why they like to talk. They don't like to talk in normal statistics, where in those cases, it's less than 0.2% of cases of abortion. When it comes to gender, and he talks to Charlie Kirk and says, well, you don't value the existence of these people. I don't really know what that means, but I think it's the left that doesn't value their existence. They're letting them butcher themselves, and they're letting kids go to gender-affirming care and getting their body parts chopped off, castrating young boys and doing double mastectomies to young girls out there. Just because I don't think you can wake up one morning and say, well, today I'm a woman, because no biological man in the world knows what it feels like to be a woman. You'll never give birth. You'll never have your period. And the same can be said for women that say, I feel like a man. You have no idea what it feels like to have testosterone running through your body, to be a man. You have no idea. Just because I want to protect women's spaces, women's sports, speech law, and the mutilation of our younger people doesn't mean that I want to delete members of our society and have them completely wiped off the face of the earth. That's not what it means. I have issues with a lot of laws around the pronouns. Look, listen, just because you're delusional and you have your, quote unquote, your reality, doesn't make it the reality. These Marxist socialists are absolutely bonkers. Everything's about your group identity. You can't just be an American. No, you have to be black, lesbian. Yeah, you have to fit into a group. These are the same people that push for equality of outcome. Anyways, let's move on to the next part where they start to talk about privilege. This gets really entertaining. Let's get it.
Okay, back to what I was saying. So you were a lot there. So Department of Education.
Can you stop talking over her? Can you let her do her job, please? She put a lot of time into this.
All of the Department of Education is what we want to hit.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So do you have something to add about the role of the Department of Education?
Can you?
To abolish it.
Well, I'm curious. Can you name a specific inefficiency or program specifically from the Department of Ed that is inefficient?
Pell Grants.
Okay, tell me more about it.
FAFSA. The waste within Title IX funding, the waste within every single inner city grant that I've ever come across, the $160 billion that they indiscriminately send throughout the country that has net no impact on test scores or urban poverty levels or literacy rates. So the entire thing is a waste. And it could be better done on a local. So you said, hold on, you said a great point. You said, what about the students that are discriminated against in South Phoenix? Well, that's why we have a court system. You don't need a federal bureaucracy to adjudicate that. You can sue, go through the circuit court system, and go up to the Supreme Court. You don't need a federal government bureaucracy to go after every sort of injustice. That's why we have a Supreme Court. I believe in the courts. You don't need a federal bureaucracy to go after that.
Do you think that the mom in South Phoenix... Yes, I'll tell you what he said. Do you think that the mom in South Phoenix, right, who works 3 jobs, right, is up late trying to take care of her kids, right, and then her kid is discriminated against in school, right, and a lawyer costs X amount of money, right, and public defenders are overworked, they're not at the level that they need to be to take on a school district or the state if it got to that level, or to go all the way to the Supreme Court, right? So then this becomes, again, the idea of privilege, right? You assume that everything works for everyone. We're going to have to talk about
privilege. I'm sorry, this is getting out of control. Okay, seriously.
You've been talking a lot. Can you give me another 30 seconds and then you can go on?
Yeah,
go on.
Sure.
Right? So this is the idea that, right, you assume that everything will automatically work for you. Right? You wake up every day and every system works for you without having to worry about whether or not you can access it in the first place. If you are a person of color and your child is being discriminated against in South Phoenix, you do not have access to the courts. Right?
What about the ACLU? Don't they represent a lot of students that are...
Absolutely.
Oh, so they
represent everyone. So they represent everyone.
It's
It's not for everyone, right? These folks do not
All
have...
it takes is one court decision and then they can't do it again or else they go to jail.
Do you think that that's how the justice system works
No,
in this country?
That actually is how it works. That's how the Little Rock Nine worked. That's how integration in the South works. That's how desegregation works. That's how the Civil Rights Act works.
You don't get to talk about that.
Actually, I do get to talk about that.
You don't get to claim these great civil rights wins as part of your legacy.
It was actually the Republican Party that had all those great civil rights wins.
And that's another lie. My mom's watching at home, right? And she taught me not to lie, so I won't do it, right? And hi, Mom, I love you.
Was Strom Thurmond a Democrat or a Republican?
But so here's the issue, and I'm not going to get into the semantics with it. What I'm talking about is the idea that he can take credit for all of these things and then twist them historically to serve the talking points of the people that already have bought into Turning Point. You're not going to get new people when you take credit for what the black community did or what the Latino community did or what the LGBT community does every single day. You don't get to do that. And before you start talking again, you have to understand that this is an identity issue, and you never get to talk about this.
Let's stop. Stop with the identity.
You don't get to talk about this like that.
I'm going to keep talking. If you want to interrupt me, you can. I'm just going to keep talking.
You've done it every second that I've talked into the microphone.
Can I respond?
Yes, a response,
Okay.
and then move on. Got it?
Privilege. What a bunch of nonsense. If you want to be, seriously, I mean, privilege.
Hold on.
Everyone has some element of privilege. Some people are smarter.
I have privilege.
Let me finish, okay? I let you do your piece. Privilege. Okay?
Sure.
Privilege. If you want to succeed in this country, you do three simple things. America is still a meritocracy. You graduate from high school, you get a job, and you get married before you have kids. No matter your skin color, no matter where you come from. Are some people born with less? Yes, absolutely. Do we need increased opportunity? Yes, absolutely. And every policy I advocate for is increasing opportunity. Not perpetuating victimhood, not trying to say you're privileged because you're a certain color and you're a certain gender, or you're privileged because you come from a certain part of the country. Instead, talk about the policies, the data, the math. You know what doesn't have privilege? Mathematics. You have not refuted a singular data point that I have brought up tonight.
So let's do
not
this.
one.
So let's do this.
Is math all of a sudden privilege now?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's fine. We're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can I ask about a specific policy that you would advocate for?
Please.
Right. So white people in this country, their average net worth in this country is $171,000.
Asians are actually $192,000. So where's your Asian privilege? Indian Americans are $188,000. Where's your Indian American privilege? There are twice as many white people living in poverty than black people. Where's your outrage for all the poor white people in West Virginia and Appalachia that were left behind from the disastrous anti-coal policies that your wonderful President Barack Obama passed and left entire regions of this country without work, without self-worth, without the capacity or ability to earn money?
What the left forget to tell you is that Asian women are the highest paid group of people in America, more than white men. The left, they'd like to say white men. No, Asian women are the highest paid. And Charlie Kirk said it right. Look, there's going to be privileges in life. You can't get rid of that. Some people are going to be smarter than others, richer. Let's just look at the dating game. Some people are better looking. Some people are taller. That's going to give you some advantages. Are there going to be racist people who judge you based on the color of your skin? Absolutely. Absolutely, but that's not the norm. Charlie mentioned the Appalachian. Well, Eastern Kentucky, where that is the poorest place in America. And guess what's there? Trailer park living white people for the most part. In countries like America, if you make a series of great decisions in your life, right? One after one. The same goes for bad decisions. You'll end up in jail. But if you make a series of great decisions, it doesn't matter what gender or race you are, and you have good work ethic, you can have generational wealth. Now, is it going to be harder if you're born poor? Getting out of absolute poverty is hard for anybody. That is not easy to get out of. But what people like this guy are doing is they're telling people that, oh, just life's going to be harder for you. You're a victim. And you put this in their head, and this is not helping anybody. I'll tell you what privilege is in today's world. Privilege today, no matter what skin color you are, is having a mother and a father at home. We know all the stats on fatherless homes. Most high school dropouts, I think it's 70%, come from fatherless homes. Incarceration rates, 79% from fatherless homes. 70% of teen pregnancy comes from fatherless homes. Kids that join gangs. Look, there's a ton of stats on this. You are privileged in today's world if you have a mother and a father at home that love you, that care for you, that instill good morals, good values into you, that teach you the value of higher education. By that, I don't necessarily mean going to university, but being smart and continuously learning. If you take a white kid and a black kid from the same social economic class, from the same neighborhood, if the black kid has both parents at home, a loving mother and a father, he is statistically more likely to succeed in life and 3 times as likely not to end up in jail as the white kid who would have, say, just a mother at home. This is a ludicrous statement that this socialist said. Let's get back to the video.
I think that you made an interesting point, right, about property taxes funding schools, right? So you work for the system, you said, right, Ken? You work for Maricopa County Community Colleges? Which is a nicer school, Scottsdale Community College or South Mountain Community College?
They're all nice.
Which one would you rather go to?
Visit all of them. Personally, I live near Mesa Community College, but I visited all of them. I used to work for the Student Loan Support Services team, which I agree with Charlie. If we didn't have a Department of Education, it would be a lot easier to do my job. But all the schools are nice and are still thriving with them.
I hope that they serve all their students really well. I think that's important. I'm sure that you do a great job. But I want to talk about the way that those schools are funded, right? When you look at the way that you would fund property taxes, whose home values are higher? Is it when we go down to Broadway and Central, and those property taxes that fund Roosevelt schools and then South Mountain Community College? Is it houses in Scottsdale that have incredibly high property values, and then thus they pay more in taxes, but that goes straight to their school, right? So you have to think about who is being served by this, right? So you know that it's an inequitable education, right? Because if you went to South Mountain Community College, and I'll try to wrap that up, I know I'm taking a long time, but if you tried to look at it in creating equity, this is not happening within the community college system right now because of the funding sources. And the same for K through 12.
Can I comment? Yeah. So first of all, the goal of creating absolute equity is both impossible and immoral. You should never have absolute equity in wealth or equity of talent. So you keep mentioning that. I will say it's both impossible and immoral. But secondly, you actually just made a great argument for school choice, that students that grow up with worse property values should be able to go to a school that has higher property values. So they're able to take their money and go to a better school if they're within a failing school, which is exactly a good argument for school choice, which is everything that we advocate for, which would actually pursue more towards equity, which is everything that you believe in.
So school choice is a lie, right?
It's a success story that has lifted millions of people out of poverty, including many of whom that I know.
So like I said, I read your book, right? I didn't super enjoy it, as you can imagine, but I read the book. And so I want to talk about Julio, right? Because you brought up Latinos earlier. Right?
Yes, just so everyone knows, Julio is a fictitious character that I created in the book of what a free society can create for an at-risk Latino immigrant in the country through a free society, lift out of poverty into success. Just so everyone knows.
So to be more frank, Charlie created a fake Mexican to prove his point.
Wow. Okay.
And I didn't like that.
So if I would have called him Jake, it would have made it less true?
It would have made it more real coming from you, right? And
really? Or how about if his name was Jovan? Seriously, what are you trying to get at here?
So I want to go back to
why is it always race with you? Seriously, what's with your leftist and race? It's like if you created a fake Mexican. Well, actually, he might have been from Nicaragua, or he might have been so seriously, what are you trying to say with all this race stuff?
Well, I want to get back to the answer about school choice.
I'm genuinely curious.
So I
haven't mentioned race once, but you keep on mentioning it.
My man said something about a fictional character. Bruv, people have been creating fictional characters in books since the dawn of time. The skin color of the author, if they have a valid point, doesn't matter. It's the same as women telling you, you can't have an opinion on abortion because you're a man. No, if you make a valid point, you make a valid point. Your gender doesn't matter. Imagine living in a world where white people can only write about white characters and black people can only create black characters. How boring would that be? Today's world, probably the white people who couldn't write about other characters because they would be called racist, but it'd be fine for everybody else. If Charlie was of another skin color, if he was black and he had written about a white character, this man wouldn't have said anything. This thing about the character in his book is completely ludicrous. But these are the same people that push DEI, that push CRT, that push for equality of outcome, this amazingly stupid leftoids. Let's get back to it.
I have a question for Randy. So
what's up, man?
When you're talking about privilege and stuff, you cited the net worth of white people, but Asians have a higher net worth, but you didn't include that in your talking point. May I ask why?
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Because you're only concerned with white people.
Because I mean, by your definition of white privilege, Asians have more privilege, so I don't really get it. It just sounds like race baiting.
So, woo! So I appreciate your question, and I thank you for coming. I value your time.
Beta bear.
What I would say is that Asian Americans do have privilege, right? I had privilege as Latino, right? I had privilege where I grew up in Wisconsin, right? Privilege is not relegated just to white folks, right? That's not how privilege works. We know that privilege is how you interact with systems and how your experience is put together, right? So to answer your question, I'm not race baiting. Things are racial, right? There are racial outcomes that we have to deal with and put policies in place that actually acknowledge their reality, right? So when you look at that, right, I think that Asian Americans, if that was their actual net worth, and I don't have that statistic, so I apologize, but if that is what is going on, then they are also part of the solution, right? Wouldn't you say, can I ask him a question back? Wouldn't you say that we'd all be better off if people of color in this country felt two things? They felt valued by their community, and they felt as if they had economic opportunity in their community as well. Would you feel that way? How would you answer that?
I mean, I think a lot of them do, given the objective fact that Asians or people of color may do better than white people by every measure of economic success.
Oh my God, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. Asian Americans entered mostly in the 1940s and 50s, fleeing communism. They were the poorest ethnic group, poorer than African Americans when they entered in the flurry of refugees from Mao communism.
Are we gonna talk
Let me
about
finish.
refugees on the railroad?
Let me finish. They entered extremely poor, made good decisions, created communities, and they went to college in record numbers, and now Asian Americans are the richest subracial group in the country. The Constitution was not written in Korean. The point being is this country can be successful no matter what race, color, religion, or language you speak. Even more than that. Even more than that. If you're trying to say that, oh, well, you know, it's different because there's institutional racism against black people. There is a lot and continues to be institutional racism against Asian Americans, but they overcame it. And in fact, if you talk to someone who fought in World War II, ask them what they used to call an Asian American person. We actually, if I remember correctly, we unconstitutionally put Asian Americans in internment camps in the 1940s. We treated them horribly. And instead of giving them government benefits, we empowered them. And now they are the richest subracial group in the country
can I ask a question?
because they overcame the victimhood mentality that you are pushing.
So can you just outright say for me, please?
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm sorry, Elias. Can you outright say for me that you think black people think they're victims and so do Hispanics?
I think that you are putting forth a victimhood mentality. I think the left is trying to turn women into victims. They're trying to turn black people into victims. They're trying to turn Latino into victims. They're trying to turn transgender people into victims. They're trying to turn Muslims into victims. When in reality, America has been the greatest country in the history of the world because we've always risen above victimhood culture, because we've empowered the individual to rise above that. I think it's the left's doing, absolutely.
My man is just being killed by facts and logic here by not only Charlie, but apparently people in the audience as well. Guys, if you're still watching at this point, I hope this will be the day that I may earn your subscription. If you're not ready to subscribe yet and you do enjoy these videos though, a thumbs up really goes a long way, really helps your boy out. Thank you. Let's get back to the video.
I would say, and I want to thank you all for coming. I really appreciate your time and then your interest in what we have to say. I really do value the diverse opinions, and I think I've learned, and I hope that we've all learned that was the purpose of this event. But what I think that you see right now is you have two very different realities that Charlie and I are living in, right? You have a reality where, as Charlie said himself, everyone can just make it, right? This is the old pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, where if you can just wake up and if you just want it bad enough, right? If you just want it bad enough, you can push down all those barriers that are put in place and you can just go and do it, right? But we know that's not true. Right, and I think he's right there. You can call me that. I'm telling you, I'm race baiting. I'm talking about real statistics and identity, and I want to talk about one piece before I close out. Turning point is dangerous, right?
To socialism, absolutely, yeah.
The danger of turning point, right? And I do thank you all for facilitating this event, and I appreciate your civic engagement at a young age. But the danger of turning point is that they're couching this economic freedom argument, right, without acknowledging the inequities and realities of what it's like to be a person of color in there, right? And fundamentally, when you are unwilling to talk about the racial aspect of issues, you are trying to take our power away. Right? I found my power, right, as an organizer and as a person when I got here, and I realized that I was a part of a community, a Latino community, right? I even changed the way that I pronounce my last name. You knew me when I was Perez, right? And you can laugh at that, right? But it was such an important moment for me where I realized that there was so much more to what we were doing. So I thank you all for being here. I would encourage you to think. I would encourage you to continue to engage. And I just want to say that I do thank Charlie. I know that we got a little bit heated. We had fun backstage. And I think this is going to be one of many conversations that we continue to have.
Thank you. So I'm going to read something. So I'm going to just close together. You say you're not race baiting. That's fine. You could say that. But I wasn't going to bring this up, but I just have to. So you gave an interview to the Arizona State Press, and you said, quote, "What again would be a win for me is if I can find a way to deconstruct Charlie Kirk. I want to deconstruct the white, male, fragile privilege that goes into that ideology.
Yes.
I want to deconstruct the misogyny that goes into this ideology. I want to deconstruct the fundamental colorblind racism that is inherent in a lot of things that he writes in this book." Okay. Wow. So
That is
again,
completely correct, and I don't think that I did that tonight,
yeah, exactly. Of course not. Because this is the playbook of the left, right? Before the game even starts, call someone a racist. Say your policies are racist, colorblind racism.
That's not what I said.
You said my policies are you said I'm a misogynist. Let me reread it. Hold on a second. Come on. Hold on. You said, no, seriously, not you said. I want to deconstruct the misogyny that goes into the ideology.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm a misogynist now. I hate women. That's
No,
really interesting.
that's not what that means.
What does it
right?
mean?
When you look at this, right, and
I mean, seriously, I mean, it's a closing argument, but the point being, you can play the nice guy all you want and say I was one of the raised all above it, but you came in here trying to make, this idea of white male fragile privilege. I will never judge someone by the color of their skin. Ever. You will.
you do every day.
I do it every day? How dare you say that? How dare you say something like that? How dare you say I judge people by the color of their skin every single day? Seriously. I mean, what an astonishingly stupid claim for you to say. For you to say, I judge people by the color of their skin, while you come up and you say, I have white male fragile privilege. Who's being the racist here, folks? Who's the one actually saying that someone has skin color? I come up here, and what Turning Point USA espouses, and yeah, we are dangerous to the liberal left and socialists that want to destroy this country. Absolutely, we're dangerous to them. We're also advancing ideas that's going to continue to make America the greatest country in the history of the world, and expand economic freedom and opportunity, and protect the Constitution, which is the greatest political document ever written by man. But finally, I will continue to advocate for the rights of all Americans. And this is going to be the stumbling block. Are we going to go down a way that Europe went, where you go into this dangerously divisive and hateful color identity politics? Or are we going to do what Martin Luther King said? I believe he said, I dream of a day where you could be judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin. And you are doing exactly the opposite, where you say you have white male fragile privilege and that I'm engaging in colorblind racism. Because in this country, as per the Asian American example and the Indian American example, if you make good choices and if we continue to expand economic freedom and opportunity, you can succeed. And only in this country is that possible. Thank you.
My man is batshit crazy. Completely bonkers. CRT, guys, is like reverse racism. To call Charlie a racist here and to say that he judges people by skin color, when all this dude has done, this whole event, is judge people by race and gender, classify people their skin color group, is nonsense. And that is the problem. This group ideology, it doesn't work for society. It just makes people more and more divisive, which is what they want. Everything should just be merit-based. Again, I'm not saying there'll never be racism. There's some stupid people out there. Fair. But you want to live in a world where you're judged in society by your merits, what you've accomplished. You don't want a handout because you're of a minority skin color. It's insane. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel, help it grow, leave a thumbs up on the video. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.